Okay, so the purpose of this call, I'm just going to state this for the video, the purpose of the
Okay.
video. So we've got Cynthia and her husband Ryan. Cynthia came to eXp Mentorship Masters. She joined me, woohoo, some
Hey.
months ago. She's doing great. And now her husband's about to join. And so there's this whole domestic team conversation that we've been having, kind of going back and forth with chat. And I said, you know what, Cynthia, let's just get on a call, and then now a Zoom, and maybe this could be to the benefit of everyone else. So, because this is a big question a lot of people have, my wife and I have the same question. We're
Right.
both realtors, and we have actually several domestic teams here in Mentorship Masters.
Yeah.
So, what's best? What should I do? That kind of thing. So, thank you guys for being the guinea pigs and volunteers to help us with this.
Sure.
Yeah, no problem.
And it's like one of those things where when you got me, it's like you got all this list of questions. So we'll get through those too.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so the let me hear from you guys. What questions or concerns or do you have just in general around this?
Well, in regards to this situation, since I just joined in November, so I'm still working on getting to cap. So my first question is, and I did try to do as much research as I could on my own. I even talked to my broker, California broker, um, and got a few things accomplished. But I just wanted to know, will having a domestic person come in, especially that needs the first three transactions as well, with the mentor, is that going to mess with my cap? Or, so that was
Yeah,
my chief concern, because we obviously want to get to my cap without having someone dilute it down with the reduced, you know,
with the
new
reduced,
agent split.
yeah, right, right. Um, so that question I'm not 100% sure on, but my thinking around it is that even if Ryan had a mentor at EXP, and by the way, with a team, there's some ways around that. You've got to kind of work through it. But if Ryan was assigned a mentor, he still would have a full deal.
Yeah,
So he still would have a 100% deal. So it wouldn't be, because traditionally when you have a partial deal, like a referral or a split, it would be a 50% deal or
right.
sometimes even smaller than that. So that you would have a half a unit towards your cap instead of a full, I mean, toward your cap or toward your icon.
Mhm.
So I don't think it'll mess with that, but I think the bigger question too is whether or not you're going to have uh, a mentor, Ryan. Have you looked into that, Cynthia? That's a
Well,
great question, by the way.
I think he does. I meet the requirements for to be his mentor. So I went ahead and signed up for that. So I'm now, the girl will connect Ryan to me.
Hmm.
Um, I think to not have him be a mentor, I would have to already be like an icon agent, is what I understand. So I'd already have to be like the chief of a team and that he's coming into, and then naturally they know that he would be properly trained because there's an icon over him. But because I'm not that status, so they agreed that he does need a mentor. So
That's
I
interesting because you don't have to be an icon to be a mentor.
right,
That's
exactly.
interesting.
So
So
I had to go through the training to be a mentor. So I don't know if that's what, so they can keep track of what I'm showing him, because they give him that curriculum to work through on Mind Flash.
Yeah.
So I think as long as both parties are accountable, the mentor and the mentee, they count that as me being able, they just said I needed to have three transactions with EXP to qualify to be a mentor.
understood. That makes
So
sense.
that's all they
Yeah,
said.
that makes
But
sense. Yeah.
yeah, so if I didn't, if I was already an icon, he could just slide into a team or a domestic partner. But domestic is different than team because we're sharing the cap. So I just
Yeah.
didn't know if it's logical. I mean, yeah, it would
Would it
be
be better for us to have me be myself for maybe
Okay.
even a year so that Cynthia was able to reach her cap and then I'm still learning and working, and then maybe in the next year, this maybe was one of our questions, that we became the domestic partnership after a year of work, and then we could even make me the principal because my start date was good for timing of real estate or things of that nature.
So from my perspective, the only reason that a domestic partnership doesn't make sense is if
Mhm.
you want to become a big builder. You
Right.
know, in other words, you want to be a recruiter, or you want to build your organization, and you want to build it, across multiple lines. So that's the only reason that I would see that you wouldn't want to, because there's so many advantages of the domestic partnership, or the domestic team, that it, you know, but here's the thing. So typically there's one join fee, 149. But what I found out is, if Ryan, you're coming in kind of late to the game, then
Mhm.
you probably would still have your own 149 fee. Okay. You'll have to verify that. But did you see the other stats, or have you seen the document around domestic teams?
I read it. It doesn't
Okay.
really answer
A
all
lot
the
of questions.
questions. Yeah, I know
Yeah. Let
there's
me.
shared cap, which is the biggest one, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's double 85 a month fee, probably is.
It's not. Let
It's
me let
not
me just
shared.
show you. Yeah. Let me just show you what I've got here. Let me go. Okay. So this is the document for the domestic teams. Do you
Mhm.
have this one?
I think so.
Okay. So here's the fees. You can see it right here. There's one join fee of 149. There's 85 uh, on one, and then 50
Oh,
for the second. Okay. So
gotcha.
you'd save 35 a month
Yeah.
there. Okay. And the other pieces, I think this other one does a better illustration. See if it's this one. This one right here, I think, is a better illustration. So for the domestic team, you've got icon eligibility with one award for the team. So you guys both can pool your production to hit icon. You've got one capped transaction fee of 5,000. What that means is, there's $250 per transaction after you cap. And so you would only have one set of those, for the additional 20 deals to hit icon. You'd have one risk management fee of 40 per transaction, capped at 500, and then you'd have one shared cap of 16,000. And you'd only have one join fee if you join at the same time, is what they're telling me. So
Okay.
you could always email. I've got a direct email, agent onboarding at exprealty.com, to ask about, hey, my husband's coming in. I just joined X months ago. Can we waive his 149? Because if you had to join together, they would have, it would have been
Right.
one join fee. It's worth asking. I
Yeah.
don't know, they will. But based on that information, and then the other document, I'll make sure you get a copy of that. You may already have that one. Um, but that one's like 16 pages, or however many pages it is. It goes into more detail. I can't really see a benefit of you waiting, Ryan, unless I'm missing something.
Well, I just didn't know if,
Well, because if she's my mentor,
so it's a 70-30 split for a mentor.
But that doesn't matter.
doesn't we can be a domestic partnership and have one be the mentor? I guess I was confused
that
on.
that's unusual. So you'd have to check with onboarding, but it shouldn't, that shouldn't affect your units though.
Okay, so they won't, because it's paying 10% to the university.
Mhm.
So would they be diluting down my cap
Not at
with that
all. Not at
10%?
all. Because I mean, it shouldn't, because look, there's still an 80-20, right?
Right.
So there's still the 80-20 still exists. So in addition to the 80-20, there's an additional 10% that goes to the mentor, and there's an additional 10% that goes to the expand program. So
Okay,
that's
so because
that's
it's coming out of his side. Okay,
yeah. So it's a 60-40 on his first three deals.
yeah,
So he's
okay,
still going to have three full units that would also apply toward the team, the
right.
domestic team. Hmm.
So if he jumped in, I can still, because I joined in November.
Hmm.
So now I'm gonna have to re-up next November. I mean, and notoriously real estate could, the trend could be not as busy November, December. And so it would take me a little longer to get back up to speed. Is that a bad way to look at it? And then, but if I can make him the principal, because if he joins now, it'd be easier to get to a cap faster next year in the
With the
spring.
domestic team, okay, so with the domestic team, it's more semantic. So it's not, you really don't have a principal of a domestic team. It's just a team. So the way eXp looks at a domestic team as one individual. Okay. So here in our group, we have several domestic teams.
Mhm,
Like for example, Will and Deb Gilliam are probably our biggest domestic team that we
mhm.
have. And they did Icon last year. So even though they're both under me, they're counted as one agent. Okay. So
Right,
it doesn't, so you could say, well, Will's the principal and Deb, or Deb's the principal. And really they don't actually, technically, yes, they're, I mean, the way you put it on the document is that
yeah,
way, but the way it works out, it's just semantics. It's you, so for the sake of how you present yourself to your clients and customers, you can do that however you choose.
right,
The domestic team is really a behind the scenes kind of
yeah,
thing, if you will. Does that make sense?
yeah,
I guess my concern though is if we become a domestic team right away, then we would lose 10% on our first 3 deals because we're because it wouldn't be under Cynthia or under myself, it'd be under our team, but I'm new. So those first 3 transactions have to be at 60/40 basically.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying
So
is,
we would be losing 10% on the first 3 deals that we do with me joining the team.
because every transaction we do has to be a we, because now we're just one person. That's what we're thinking.
no, I mean your transactions, Cynthia, would be, so you're saying that you would have to have a mentor for your deals?
No, just like, so if it's just one person and one sky slope, when they do the payout, does
But
it
you,
have to say,
but no, but see, you're thinking of it differently. So when you go in, the deal can be under you or it can be under Ryan, either one.
Oh, it can't,
Okay.
even as a
So you
domestic.
can have your own book of business.
okay,
You can
well,
have
okay,
your
Yeah, I
well,
book
that
of,
didn't,
answers a lot.
yeah, I didn't know that. So
Yeah,
I
I just
thought it would
didn't,
just be one thing. Sorry.
so for
mm-mm.
the way they record it, they'll know the difference. And so Ryan's portion of reaching cap is different than mine.
Yeah, because you're going to have
Contra-
your separate identities at eXp. You're each going to have your separate email. You're going to have your own SkySlope
Yeah,
accounts. You're going to have, you're both going to have, unless you run all your production under one person, really doesn't matter how you do it, but you can have your own separate book of business. The advantage of you for you is that you only have that one sort of, you're counted as one from a unit standpoint, but you can
right.
still have your own book of business. So truthfully, like two realtors could actually have their own businesses running, which is what a lot of husband and wife teams do, domestic partners. And so that this person's over there and they have their production and this person has their production. That's the way I understand it. Make sure you get
Okay.
clarity on that. But
Well, I think when I read that there's one, we share a sky slope. So that's where I was like, okay, so if they're using sky slope to record the transaction, it's going to go in as a we.
so they give you one sky slope.
It
Is that
seems
what
to
they
be,
say?
I believe
Okay.
so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
yeah, clarify on that because I get what you're saying. You don't want
right.
Cynthia, if you got a deal, you don't
I
you,
no, we don't want that diluted 10%. No.
yeah, clarify that you guys have a
Yeah.
unique situation, so I'm not,
Yeah.
but let me talk about the other piece of it. So
Okay.
Okay.
some people purposely don't do a domestic team because they want to be business builders. If that's not your thing, don't even worry about that. I think that would be probably 10% of people, but they're like seriously like my wife and I, like
Yes.
we're not competing against each other, but we both want to have sort of our own, um,
Right.
you know, thing. And
Age.
and unless you're really going to be, like we're not super highly productive. I mean, I cap every year, but I'm not going for icon or anything like that. So, I'm more here for the teaching, training, and building up the, the saints, if you will.
Yes.
So that's my job. We so now Josie is at eXp, but she's not, she's directly under me and she's building her group and I'm building
Okay.
my group, you know. So it's like kind of this thing we used to do at Keller Williams. Sometimes we would do that too. So it's just it's positioning, how you want to position it.
Yeah.
But if that's not a concern for you, then I wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, I do understand what you're saying. The question is, should Ryan wait? until he completes at least his 3 deals, and then join so that your deals are not diluted? That's a question I
Right.
can't answer because I don't know that.
Okay.
I don't that I don't know that degree of how that domestic program works, because it is unique what you guys are doing. To have a spouse. Typically, when spouses join, they're already both licensed.
Yeah.
But we have had several situations where the one spouse gets their license, joins as a domestic team, but I don't know how they count the that side of it.
Yeah. I'll ask him about that. So if the answer is yes, it would dilute that, then we would just have him join as an individual
Under you.
I
under
think it would
me.
make more sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would.
Because then
Yeah,
at least I'll be his mentor and get that 10%, but also
Not
be a
dilute
part of
yours.
my start the tree. And then they could correct that however they choose with domestic. If he
yeah,
joins as domestic later, I don't
yeah.
know how
There's
they
a
correct that.
there's a FAQ about that. Let me see if I can find it. Um, so now, if he's already here, that's going to be the trick.
Yeah.
If you guys are both already at EXP, because so my understanding is that you want to make the decision up front rather than
Right.
later.
Yeah. He hasn't
So
joined yet.
I'm
yeah,
not joined yet. I just passed the test on Wednesday and I haven't done
right.
anything.
Congratulations. Yeah, yeah, I knew that. And so that brings in the other a little bit of another tricky piece to it. But I think if you just say, hey, we're going to have our own separate book of business, how do we do this with one SkySlope account? Um, then that will sort of answer the question. Because certainly you shouldn't be penalized if you, I'm using that term loosely,
Right.
for the fact that Ryan is just coming in.
Yeah.
It should be a win-win, and I don't think they do penalize you. I don't know how they separate that, but let me show you one other thing. You really want to reach out to eXp World, and I mean you want to jump on eXp World and you want to go to the onboarding. That's what I did this morning to get a few questions answered for me. But let me just show you real quick here. Okay, so here's a scenario that's within that same document that we were looking at earlier. It says 2 agents join eXp Realty as a domestic team. One agent is already with eXp, and their legally married spouse decides to join the current eXp agent and form a domestic team. So this is kind of what you guys are doing. The active eXp Realty agent will notify agent onboarding in eXp World that the spouse is joining. Also, who the primary agent will be. So yeah, they do have a primary, so to speak. Um, so then the question would be, hey, what if you want to flip primaries later? Okay. Now, 2 active eXp agents decide to form a domestic team. Okay. Both notify agent onboarding of this request. We will need to know if you plan on keeping the same sponsor or requesting a one-time change to primary agent sponsor. Okay. Please allow 48 hours for us to combine you as a team. Okay.
Right.
So these are the kind of FAQs that are in this document. This is the one that I'll make sure you have a copy of this. You may already have it.
Okay.
So have you gone to eXp World already?
Well, I went, but they were closed. I was the only one in there.
Oh, you
So I
did?
have to go
Okay.
back this morning. They were closed when I went in. So,
So when I went in this morning, there were like 16 people ahead of
okay.
me, but it went pretty quick. It was in
Okay.
about 15 minutes
Yeah.
because they have a bunch of people that are working in there. So um, and sometimes they don't even really know because these are nuances that you're talking about that
Right.
are kind of
Nuances.
unique.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
very
they
unique.
might have somebody else might
But
know.
but they
So,
have somebody they can ask for sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
you want
they've
to get it
been
in writing.
great. They said once they see Ryan's thing come in, that they'll match him with me as a mentor. Like that's already figured out.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll just get this straightened out in the world.
Hey,
So
just do 40 deals and then you don't have to worry about it.
I
You're
know.
gonna hit it out of the park either way,
Totally.
You
Yeah.
yeah, if you just slide in the icon by the skin of your teeth, then you got to worry about this, right?
Yeah, I'm not there yet. But yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
you guys are moving too.
I
How's that
know.
going?
I don't know how it's going, but it's a Yeah, that's a whole nother Zoom call.
There's still a lot of
I don't
variables
know.
that need to be taken care of. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
right now we're working on what we're doing right now in front of us.
Okay. Well, I think we got what we needed for the recording. Just
Yeah.
but for the recording's sake, then I'm going to close this out, and then we can answer a few more questions. Just want you guys to really understand, those of you watching this, that you really have to, just like we're learning here with Cynthia and Ryan, you got to really think through this before you make the decision. Now, you can, as we saw, decide later to do it a different way. So there's some flexibility there, but just make sure you have all the questions that you need answered. And you saw the places where you can go and get that information as well. So thank you guys
Yep.
for being so gracious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording here.